Hi, everybody. It is Megan here, the faithful fibromyalgia warrior, and it is 9:30 here on Saturday morning. I have been up since just before 6, so I've been awake for a while. I wanted to make this very quick video just to let you know that I have so far not experienced any rebound pain after I vacuumed our little bungalow yesterday. Now, this is incredibly important information because for myself, and maybe for even those of you who also have fibromyalgia or other chronic pain, it used to be that if I did anything, whether it was trying to stand up straight, whether it was trying to have better posture, certainly if it was, wiping down the counter or even just doing some light housework or cleaning, I would not only would my pain be worse whilst I was doing it, but within half an hour, I would feel so worn out and so much additional pain that I would have to sit and do next to nothing for the rest of the day. And I would always wake up the very next morning with incredible lower back pain that made it very difficult for me to move. My legs would feel stiff, mainly because my SI joint, my sacroiliac joint, as well as my sacrum, my pelvic area, the lower back part of my pelvic bone. So where all of that connects, the part of you that allows you to sit up to stand up and sit down, where that it's like a hinge, right? And at the bottom of our lower backs between the lumbar part of our spine and our tailbone. And that's what allows us to flex our hips and move our legs and our knees, and all of that works together, and that's the part of our body that takes the majority of our weight, is our lower back, that hinge area. So kind of where the bottom of your lower back, or the bottom of your spine, the lumbar area, so where that is attached to your pelvic bone, there's a sacrum, which is a little bit of bone in between those two things, and there are ligaments and joints that attach it all together, and it works like a hinge, as I say. So it allows you to walk, it allows you to bend over, it allows you to sit, it allows you to straighten out when you're sleeping, etc. But for me, because that is where I injured my spinal disc 9 years ago, that is also the area that has the most pain. That is the area where the pain never fully goes away. And anytime I would try to do anything around the house, didn't matter if it was putting some laundry in the machine, whether it was maybe grabbing the dog's dish and filling it with water, it always aches. And if I did anything, even as simple as, sitting up in bed and swinging my legs over the side and getting up, it would hurt. And if I did anything more than just a little bit of exercise, it would hurt a lot more. Now, my pain, my chronic pain, the dull pain that is in that whole lower back area, is there. It still is, and may be there forever. I've had lower back pain since before I had my children. I've had lower back pain since I was in my 20s, since I was a teenager, since I was a kid. Some of that is due to just years in Canada of falling on ice or falling over sledding, wiping out skiing, crashing into other players when I was in a hockey game, whatever it is. So there's a lot of wear and tear there over years, right? Over years and years, at least a good 30 years worth of wear and tear. And that obviously has not helped my lower back situation. Okay, so I say all this to lay the groundwork in that I may always have lower back pain or a back that is sensitive to pain because I've had it for decades from various reasons, different causes. Now, what I wanted to share that was super exciting is that as somebody with fibromyalgia, and again, those of you who also have it or who know people who have it will be able to sort of confirm is that we have days where we are feeling better and days where we don't feel as good, days where we may feel worse, where on a day we feel better, we often will try to do all kinds of things that day, right? We feel good, let's get up, let's do something, let's make the bed, let's shower and get dressed, let's maybe get around the house, maybe try to run errands, maybe go out for a meal. And sometimes even just the littlest thing can aggravate the pain where it comes back and it comes back worse than what we had beforehand. And it takes us several days for that to go away. And for me, anytime I've tried to do too much, that's always been the case. So yesterday, when I decided I was going to do the vacuuming, I was expecting to have rebound pain. I was expecting to be, wanting to just lay flat and not do anything for the next, 24 to 48 hours. I was expecting to have not only my normal, everyday, chronic, achy pain, but I was expecting to have sharp, acute rebound pain on top of that. That did not happen. So if ever there was proof to me that God is healing me little by little over time by eating a carnivorous diet, this is it. So not only have I lost and kept off 80 pounds of weight from my body, from 200 and plus pounds to 120. Now, a lot of that is water weight, because when we lose weight from our body, that is a lot of what we lose is the water that we retain, okay? But also a significant amount of that is body fat. My body has a different composition to it now. I've gone from, say, 30% body fat to 20, something like that. At one point, my body fat content was about 30%. That is how much excess fat and water I was carrying on my body. I'm 5'5". I do not go to the gym. I don't do any sort of heavy lifting. I don't, do any resistance training, simply because up until this time, well, for two reasons, because I'm at high risk of having a disc prolapse once again with repetitive motion and movement, and also because where the disc went out, right at the bottom of my lumbar part of my spine, so my very bottom of my lower back, so as I sort of said at the beginning, between where my lumbar part of my spine ends and just before my tailbone coccyx area begins, and that's your sacrum, right? It's a bone kind of in between those two places, and it's all attached with ligaments, and of course there are nerves there as well, and then you've got other tissues and joints and everything holding that part of you together. But that is the main hinge of the human body. And so I have been advised to not do those things because I'm at risk of potentially causing myself more injury or to have my disc go out again. And this time it could be worse. So fine, I'll stay away from that. So for me to be able to have a significant reduction in my inflammation and in my chronic pain, because I lost all that weight, all that fat, all of that water that was being kept in my body that I did not need, and all that strain that was being put on my joints to have to support the additional weight that my frame for my height is not intended to support. That was a huge difference for me. And even then, if I did too much, if I overdid it, if I overstrained myself, then I would have that rebound pain. And yet yesterday, I was so full of energy. I was in a place where I wanted to try to do the vacuuming. I wanted to see what would happen, to see if it was possible. And I took precautions. I was making sure to hold a good supported form. I wasn't bent over at the waist. If I had to get into the corners, I was down on my knees. I wasn't, reaching too far out. I wasn't overreaching. I wasn't overstretching myself. And I, so far, have had zero rebound pain. Zero. And that is an unbelievable blessing that I honestly did not think I would ever be able to achieve. And so that is God. Absolutely. And He is doing that. Yes, I believe He is very slowly healing the disc, the ligaments, the muscles. You see, I'm not eating crap anymore because I've learned how to eat a carnivorous diet, which is the diet that He laid out for us. Even if you go back through Genesis 1 and 2, certainly through 4 and 5 and into 6, so everything between Adam and Noah, specifically, well, even up to 9. But God spoke, Moses wrote it down. But it was very clear that God created the animals, both the wild animals, the birds of the air, the creatures of the sea, the creatures of the land, and even the livestock. Okay, even the livestock. These were all created for us to eat. And the green plants were there to feed the animals. So, for me to finally realize that it was His intention for us to consume the animals for their meat. Now, whether I prefer the skeletal muscle meat, if you like the organs and you want to try organs, go right ahead. Of course you can. Feel free. But you also don't have to. Okay? You do not have to eat organs in order to have nourishment. Skeletal muscle meat, whether you like to try it raw, which to me seems kind of gross, but if you want to eat it that way, if you're okay with it, go for it. I would, however, suggest that perhaps you only do that with the red meats, the ruminant animals. Okay? Simply because I know that people have been able to eat things like beef tartare, right? Which is essentially raw meat with egg on top. And it's a delicacy. And there's been no issues with E. coli or anything like that, or salmonella. Whereas that becomes a pretty rampant problem with those who eat undercooked chicken, undercooked poultry and pork. Maybe it's because some of the grains that they eat are still there, and maybe, that factors in. I don't know. But I would, if you're gonna try raw, I would highly recommend you keep that to the red meats, the what did I just say? Not sedentary. The ruminants, because these are multi-chambered stomachs in these animals, which allows them to fully and completely 100% break down the cellulose from the grasses and grains they eat, so that none of that ends up in the muscle tissues or the organs themselves, such as, their heart, their kidneys, their livers, for those who are fans of organs. Whereas that is not possible with poultry or pork, or I'm sure there may be other red meat animals that are not ruminants, and in which case this would still be something to be very careful about. They have a single stomach in their system, which means, like humans, they can only partially break down and digest and absorb cellulose from grasses, grains, cereals. Any plant is only partially broken down. And then that leaves a fair bit of it, which can then end up in the muscles of that animal, which means if you are highly sensitive to corn, soy, wheat, or gluten grains, which are the things that are fed to these types of animals, then you can have a reaction to them. I find that I certainly, if I eat more than a few sausage, well, no, that's not even true. If I eat sausage, I do have a slight reaction. My body feels like it's overheating. I get a little slightly flushed. If I eat more than a sausage, if I eat 2 or 3, I find that I get just a slight bit bloated. And if it's poultry, it always leaves me feeling like the roof of my mouth is just ever so slightly itchy. Okay? Now, sometimes I'm willing to make the sacrifice, but ultimately, I prefer not to have it for that reason. Now, the only exception is bacon. Bacon does not seem to bother me. I don't know why. Maybe it's because it's got fat in it. Maybe it's because compared with the amount of fatty beef, or say lamb or kebab meat or other cuts of red meat that I do enjoy, like sirloin or ribeye, perhaps that's enough to negate the other issues. That's also probably why I seem to be okay with egg yolks, but I do have a very, very, very strict limit as to how many full eggs I can eat, So I can eat up to 4 egg yolks a day. Doesn't seem to bother me. But if we're talking full, like whole eggs, including the whites, maybe 2. And that's because the whites are where I have the issue. So who knows? But all that aside, I am still rebound pain free. I am filled with energy. I feel fantastic. I feel amazing. It is a beautiful, incredible day out, and I can't wait to get outside. I've done put a couple of loads of laundry through. I'm not saying I have zero pain, because that's not true. But God is absolutely using the lack of processed crap and the input of animal meat and egg yolks to heal me, to help build muscle, to help get rid of or reduce my inflammation, my chronic pain, as that continues to get better, I hope that means I'll be able to do more things more often and have a whole lot less of a negative effect. So for me, I have to make sure that just because I did the vacuuming yesterday doesn't mean I should start lifting heavy things. It does not mean I should suddenly start running on 1,000 at 1,000. You know what I mean? At 1,000%. Like, that's it. I'm going to wash the windows and I'm going to sweep the gutters and clean the attic. Well, not that we get into the attic, but you know what I mean? So I have to be very careful that I don't go over the top, because that's something else that I can do that I don't want to be doing. I want to be very careful, take it a little bit at a time. But it does show me that there is healing going on. And so not only has he healed me spiritually and emotionally, but he is continuously healing me physically. And that is so amazing to me. That is so incredibly inspiring and encouraging. I have hope that there may come a day where I might actually be able to walk to town and back, and I won't need to be in a wheelchair. I don't know if that's going to happen or when, but this initial step is so very promising. I'll keep you guys posted. I know sometimes rebound pain may not hit immediately, and so I will, of course, keep you updated over it. But for me, my rebound pain always hits right after I've overdone it on some activity. So there is pain, but there is no new pain. That's massive. It doesn't mean yet that I can, as I say, it does not mean that I can go ahead and sweep and mop the floors and do all the windows and reorganize everybody's closets and, lift a whole bunch of stuff. That's not what it means. It does mean that it's a step. That I've had enough healing with eating this way because of God and him looking after me, that I was able to do that yesterday, and I am not suffering for it this morning. So I will continue to, as I said, I will keep you guys up to date, and if that changes, I'll let you know. But it's so amazing to me and so promising that while my ongoing, chronic pain is there, for the first time ever in 9 years, I have not suffered rebound pain. And hopefully that's a sign that maybe my chronic pain will become even less as well. How fantastic would that be? We'll see what happens. Thank you guys so very much for supporting me, for supporting this channel, for all of your wonderful, lovely, incredible comments. I always enjoy hearing from each of you. Share your stories. Let me know how you guys are doing. Again, I'm 9 years in with this injury and fibromyalgia, and I'm only 2.5 years in with Carnivore. But to me, to even have that kind of improvement, even though it's been 2.5 years, that's still pretty quick. I mean, when you think about everything else altogether, that's pretty impressive. We'll see what happens. I think maybe it's not going to, for those of us who suffer with long-term medical issues, the thing I had to keep reminding myself is I lived in this state for years before I actually even started to try keto and then carnivore. And for me to expect to have a complete reversal of all my symptoms, of all my medical issues, that quickly is unrealistic and unfair. given how significant they were and still are. But I finally am seeing changes. So it doesn't mean it's not going to ever happen. This gives me hope that even more improvements are going to keep coming. Amen for God, and that is absolutely true. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this is encouraging to you guys. I hope it offers help and hope, and feel free to share it with anybody that you think could find it useful. I hope you guys have a fantastic day. Enjoy your Saturdays, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye till then.